Hello everyone, Austin here. I've got another video for you, and today we're going to be doing kind of an overview of grafting. What is grafting? What's the purpose of it? If you're into gardening, you've been looking into fruit trees and that kind of stuff, you've probably seen the word grafting thrown around. So today I'm kind of going to explain what it is, what the purpose of it is, and then also how to do it. And there's a couple different ways. Actually, there's tons of different ways, but I'm going to go over the main three, probably the easiest ways to do it. Yeah, so let's get right into it. So one of the biggest issues with growing fruit trees is if you try to grow it from a seed, more than likely you're not going to get the exact same type of fruit. It's never going to be true to the parent. I can't say never because it is possible, but it's very rare that it happens. And also when growing from seed, it can take a lot longer, anywhere from, I mean, it obviously depends on the fruit, but 10 to 15 years before you even see your first fruit, and then it may not even be what you wanted in the first place. Like, let's say you took a seed from a Granny Smith apple and you planted that out, you let it grow. Well, 10 years later, it turns out it is a red delicious apple. It's not going to be exactly a red delicious. It may be something completely different, not even a type of apple. It will be an apple, just not a store-bought or store-grown type of apple. With grafting, that gives you the ability to get the exact fruit that you want from that tree that you grow. So basically what they'll do is they'll take a rootstock of a tree that they know is disease resistant, and then they will graft on whatever type of, let's say apples in this instance. They will take whatever type of apple tree that they want, take a branch from that and graft it onto that rootstock, and then from that point on it'll grow that type of apple and only that type of apple. And as far as the time span, you're looking at 3 to 4 years versus 10 to 15. So it cuts down on a lot of the time that you have to wait, and also gives you the exact fruit that you want. So that's the purpose of grafting. Now, what is grafting? So grafting is taking a branch from a already producing tree and then basically performing surgery, taking a branch, and let's say this is attached to that rootstock. You're going to put it on there, and eventually this will grow back together. It will heal itself, and then from that point on, it'll grow on this branch only that type of fruit. So that is what grafting is say a surgery on fruit trees. Or it doesn't necessarily just have to be fruit trees. You can do this with roses, for example, or you can do it with tomatoes. Lots of different options out there as far as grafting, but that's kind of what it is. Let me show you a few examples. This is attached to the roots, and this is your desired fruit tree here. So the first example is going to be a cleft graft. So to do that, we'll get out our handy dandy razor here, and we want a flat surface across the top of it. So make sure it's not a 45-degree angle or anything like that. And then you'll take a blade and you'll cut directly down the center. Try not to cut myself here. There's a split in the middle that I've cut down. And then for our other end, what we will do is we will shave down. You want it to come to a point. So I'll do that and then show you. So we've gotten that to come down to a point on both ends. Now, inside of that, or inside of that cut there, right along the bark, you'll see a little green layer. That's the cambium layer. Now that has to line up on your graft in order for this to actually work, because that is the healing properties of the graft, or of the tree, I mean. So you'll take that and you will slide it in there, and it should open up to allow that to go in, like that there. And that is called a cleft graft. So you just want to make sure that the edges are lined up so that that cambium layer inside is matched on the new, or on that graft there. That way it can properly heal, and this will eventually become one tree. And then once you've done that, you'll take something along the lines of this, which is like buddy tape is what they call it. Obviously this is a lot easier to do on a tree that isn't laying down or isn't cut off. But you'll take this and you'll just wrap it. Not too tight, but you don't want any water to be able to get inside of that. And you'll just leave it alone and it will heal itself and grow in that fashion there. This is probably the most common as far as at-home gardeners. Now on trees that you get from like a nursery or somewhere along the lines of fastgrowingtrees.com, those kind of things, the most common that I've seen with them is going to be a splice graft, which is probably the easiest to perform. Basically you want to cut this at a 45-degree angle. I'll do a smaller branch here for you. And let's say this is our tree here. Now obviously when you cut from a different branch, it's not going to exactly line up. So you want to try to find a branch that is along the same size. That way when you do cut it, everything lines up as far as that cambium layer. In this instance where I'm just cutting a branch and using the same one, obviously it's all going to line up perfectly. So that makes it a little bit easier, but for the example, I needed something easy. So you'll take your branch, you'll cut it at a 45-degree angle, and then you'll take the branch or cutting that you get online and you'll cut it at a 45-degree angle as well. Like I said, line it up, kind of figure out where it matches, and then you will take that and simply place it together. See that little 45-degree angle cut there? Now, from that point, you would just take this and you would wrap it. Now this one's a little bit harder to wrap because there's nothing holding it in place, which is why most gardeners, at-home gardeners, do not use this method. Yeah, do not recommend this method. I know it's easy on the cutting part of it, but the wrapping and getting it to actually set and everything is extraordinarily hard. And that is what it'll look like. However, this is a lot easier to mess up. And just like that, this branch won't make it. So avoid it if you can. Avoid that method if you can, simply because it's not easy at all to wrap and to keep it in place, whereas this is a lot more sturdy. Now a kind of a hybrid of the Cleft and the Splice is a tongue and groove, or at least that's what I like to call it. So another 45-degree angle. Like I said, we cut down into that. I'll kind of split this open so you can kind of see what the idea for it is. So you've got your 45-degree angle and then you cut down in that center there so there's a split. And you do the same thing on your other one. So there's a 45-degree angle, there's the split. You'll take these two and shove them down into each other. Oh. Now, like I said, this is harder to do than either of the other ones. Cleft is definitely the easiest. This is probably the worst example of a tongue and groove, or whip and tongue as it's called. That's kind of what it should look like. It's not going to be a perfect lineup or anything like that, but that holds a lot better than that splice graft that we did just a second ago. And as far as taping, do the exact same thing. And I'd say this is probably the most sturdy out of all the grafts. My favorite is going to be the Cleft, just because of how easy it is to line up and everything. It's super, I mean, it's not as sturdy as that whip and tongue or tongue and groove, but it's a lot more sturdy than the Splice. Splice I do not suggest doing. It's really easy on the cut, but really hard to get it to stay together. Now, examples of this in my garden, every single one of my fruit trees that I have are grafted. So that gives me the ability to get things like these ponderosa lemons that would not be able to grow from seed, because just like with those apples that I explained earlier, if you take a lemon seed, you're not going to get the exact same type of lemon. Also have sumo mandarins, which are for the most part seedless anyways, so you wouldn't be able to get a seed to grow that. Sumo mandarins, if you haven't seen those, they're gigantic mandarins that are essentially like a cutie if it was on steroids. Super juicy, really easy to peel, no seeds, but having that graft at the bottom of the tree allows me to grow that specific type of mandarin. So that's kind of the benefit of grafting, is just being able to get exactly what it is that you want, and also at a lot faster rate. So I hope this kind of helped you out as far as what is grafting and why is everyone talking about it. I guess no one's probably talking about it. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was helpful and maybe you learned a little something today. If you did, just leave a thumbs up on the video and I appreciate it, and I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you so much for watching.